Welcome to Vision in Motion, where wisdom meets action, and where every word carries purpose. You're here for a reason. You seek growth, control, and mastery over yourself. And you've just taken the first step towards something truly powerful. This book, 7 Times You Must Stay Silent, is not just another collection of advice. It is a blueprint for mental resilience, a guide to mastering one of the most undervalued yet life-changing skills, strategic silence. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, understood something that most people never grasp. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom in motion. In a world where everyone speaks but few listen, where emotions dictate actions, and where overreaction destroys opportunities, your ability to control your words can determine your success, your relationships, and your inner peace. Inside this book, you will find 7 powerful chapters, each revealing a crucial moment when silence is not just recommended but absolutely necessary. Moments that separate the impulsive from the wise, the weak from the strong, and the lost from the truly free. But knowledge without action is useless. As you listen, I challenge you, apply what you learn. Recognize these moments in your life, master them, and watch how your world transforms. And before we begin, if you find value in this journey, make sure to subscribe to Vision in Motion. This is where we explore wisdom, self-mastery, and the principles that elevate your life. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's grow together. If you are ready to break free from the need to always respond, defend, or react, if you are ready to wield silence as a tool of power, then let's begin. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Chapter 1. When emotions run high, stay silent. There will come a moment in your life when rage boils inside you, when injustice strikes your soul, when the weight of frustration crushes your chest. Your instinct will be to fight back, defend, justify, or lash out. This is the moment that separates the wise from the reckless. This is the first test of silence. The fire of emotion is a trap. Imagine a great warrior, standing before his enemy. His sword is drawn, his hand steady, but he does not strike. He waits. He watches. He controls. He knows that the first man to swing in blind rage often loses the battle. Emotions are like fire, they spread fast, they consume, they destroy. And just like fire, if you don't control them, they will control you. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor of Rome. Betrayed by his closest allies, tested by war, surrounded by politics drenched in deceit, yet he rarely spoke in anger. He wrote to himself in his journal, not to the world. You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the essence of controlled silence. To win, you must not react. To remain powerful, you must not give in to the storm inside you. The fool speaks first, the wise watch. Picture this: 2 men stand before a crowd. One is shouting, red-faced, fists clenched, his words flying like arrows, wild, uncontrolled, missing their mark. The other stands in stillness, eyes sharp, absorbing, waiting. Who holds the power? The one who watches. A rash response can ruin relationships, destroy opportunities, and expose weakness. A well-placed silence? That is unshakable strength. Take the example of an old samurai master. A young warrior insulted him in public, mocked his discipline, spit at his feet. The master did nothing. He simply stood, calm as the ocean before a storm. The crowd murmured, expecting a violent response. Yet the samurai smiled and walked away. Later, a student asked him, "Master, why did you not fight?" He replied, "If someone hands you a gift of anger, and you do not take it, to whom does it belong?" The fool gives in to anger. The wise man lets it pass. Modern silence, winning without a word. This isn't just about ancient wisdom, it applies today. Think about an argument at work, a disagreement with a friend, or even an online debate. The more you defend yourself emotionally, the weaker you appear. But if you stay silent, if you let the noise pass over you like the wind over stone, your power grows. Take a look at great leaders. The strongest ones are never the loudest in the room. They listen. They observe. And when they finally speak, every word carries weight. How to master the silence of emotion. Pause before you react. When anger surges, take 3 deep breaths. Let the heat pass. A delayed response is always a better response. Watch instead of speak. The moment you want to jump in, stop. Observe everything. Power is in knowing more than the other person realizes. Write, don't speak. When emotions control you, write your thoughts down. Marcus Aurelius didn't scream at the Senate, he wrote to himself. Writing forces clarity. Ask, what does my silence do? Will silence protect your power, expose their weakness, or control the situation? If the answer is yes, say nothing. Remember, words are like arrows. Once spoken, you can't take them back. A sharp word can wound deeper than a blade. Choose wisely. Conclusion: the silent victor. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. The next time emotions surge, when anger threatens to control you, when the world provokes you to react, stay silent. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Chapter 2: When provoked by others, stay silent. There are moments in life when someone will provoke you, intentionally or not. They will challenge you, insult you, or try to bring you down. In these moments, the natural response is to defend yourself, to retaliate, to expose their weakness. Yet, it is in these very moments that silence can become your greatest weapon. The power of unseen strength. Imagine a great lion standing in the middle of a field. The smaller creatures around him bark and yip, trying to gain his attention, to challenge his authority. The lion, however, remains silent, unmoving, calm. Why? Because he knows his power does not need to be announced. His silence is not weakness, it is strength. His presence alone is enough to command respect. This is the power of silence when provoked. It forces others to reveal themselves, to expose their own insecurity or foolishness, without you lifting a finger. The Stoic response to provocation. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of Stoicism. Life will throw countless insults and provocations your way, but it is your reaction that defines you. Consider a leader who is publicly insulted. In that moment, their emotional reaction, anger, frustration, or defensiveness, would only expose their weakness. However, the wise leader does not react. Instead, they remain calm, unshaken, and silent. They understand that the person who provokes them is often seeking a reaction, and by staying silent, they deny them the satisfaction. A lesson from the Stoics. There is a story of a famous Roman senator who was once publicly insulted by a fellow politician. The senator stood tall, said nothing, and walked away. His silence was interpreted by the crowd as dignity and strength. The insult lost its power the moment the senator refused to engage. The man who insulted him became the fool in the eyes of the people. The wise know that they need not defend their honor with words. Their silence speaks volumes, and their actions will later reveal the true measure of their character. Modern silence in the face of insults. In today's world, provocation is everywhere, on social media, in meetings, in public spaces. Someone will try to undermine you, insult you, or challenge your authority. But remember, silence is not passive. It is an active choice. The choice to rise above petty insults and not be dragged down into the mud. Think about an argument at work or a social media exchange. You could easily engage in a back and forth, but what does that achieve? It only fuels the fire, prolongs the conflict, and lowers your status. However, if you choose silence, you force the provocateur to reveal their true nature. You leave them shouting at the wind while you stand calm and composed, the image of strength. How to master silence in the face of provocation. Recognize the trigger. Understand what provokes you. Is it ego? Insecurity? Fear? Once you identify the source of your reaction, you gain control over it. Pause and breathe. In the moment of provocation, pause. Breathe. Allow the initial surge of emotion to pass. This gives you the clarity to respond, or not, wisely. Ask yourself, what is the cost of engaging? Is it worth your time and energy to engage? Is your response going to add value or just fuel the fire? Often, silence is the more powerful choice. Let the other person show their weakness. When provoked, the other person often exposes their own insecurities. By staying silent, you allow them to reveal themselves. Remember, not every battle requires a sword. Just because someone challenges you doesn't mean you need to respond. Like the lion, your silence can command more respect than any words could. Conclusion: the victory of silence. When provoked, the wise choose silence. They understand that their dignity does not need to be defended with words. The act of silence shows strength and control. It forces others to reveal themselves and removes their power over you. The next time someone tries to provoke you, remember the lion in the field. Stand tall, stay calm, and say nothing. For in silence, you are the victor. Chapter 3. In the face of uncertainty, stay silent. In times of uncertainty, when the path forward is unclear, it is easy to become anxious, to seek advice from every corner, to speak our fears aloud. Yet, there is a quiet power in silence. In stillness, we find clarity. Silence as a source of reflection. Imagine you stand at the edge of a great cliff, gazing out at a vast unknown. The wind howls around you, and the ground below seems uncertain, like the fog that obscures the distant horizon. You could shout into the wind, asking for answers, but it will not answer. The more you speak, the more the confusion grows. But if you remain still, if you embrace the silence, you begin to hear the subtle whispers of wisdom. In the quiet, your mind clears. The fog begins to lift. And in that stillness, you find your way forward. This is the power of silence in times of uncertainty. When the world seems overwhelming, when decisions weigh heavily upon you, silence allows you to reflect, to listen to your inner voice, and to find the answers you need. The Stoic approach to uncertainty. The Stoics understood that uncertainty is an inevitable part of life. They did not fear it, they embraced it. They knew that the world is unpredictable, but how they responded to that unpredictability was entirely within their control. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Everything that happens is part of the unfolding of the universe. It is not the events themselves that trouble us, but our reactions to them." In times of uncertainty, the wise do not panic. They do not rush to speak or make rash decisions. Instead, they embrace the silence, allowing themselves time to reflect, to breathe, and to find their center. How to use silence to navigate uncertainty. Don't rush to speak. In moments of doubt or fear, resist the urge to speak. Silence gives you the time you need to gather your thoughts and emotions. Embrace the unknown. Understand that uncertainty is part of the process. Accept it. In the quiet of the unknown, you will find your direction. Trust yourself. Silence allows you to hear your inner voice. Trust that voice, for it is the source of your true wisdom. Let time be your ally. Time has a way of revealing clarity. When faced with uncertainty, allow time to pass in silence, and the path forward will become clear. Seek peace, not answers. Sometimes, the answer isn't in what you do, but in what you don't do. Find peace in silence, and the answers will follow. Conclusion: finding clarity in silence. When faced with uncertainty, the wise do not panic. They remain still. They embrace silence, knowing that in the quiet, they will find clarity and direction. The next time life throws you into the unknown, remember, in the silence, you will hear the answers. Chapter 4. When tempted by greed, stay silent. There is a temptation that lurks in the shadows of every person's soul, the hunger for more. Whether it's wealth, power, or fame, the temptation to chase what we don't have can consume us. The desire to speak about our accomplishments, to boast about our acquisitions, or to announce our desires is ever present. But it is in the face of these temptations that silence becomes a profound act of discipline. Greed is a silent trap. Imagine a man who is constantly seeking more wealth, more possessions, more recognition. He tells everyone about his latest successes, flaunts his acquisitions, and never feels satisfied. To others, he appears successful, but to the wise, he is pitiful. His constant need for validation, his incessant need to speak of his successes, reveals his weakness. True strength comes from silence. The Stoics knew that happiness did not lie in external possessions, but in inner peace and contentment. Epictetus wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." A man who speaks only of his wealth is not wise, but a man who remains silent, showing restraint, is powerful. The temptation of words. Look at modern society, the endless stream of social media posts, advertisements, and news about what people have or want. We are constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we need more. People speak endlessly about their achievements, showing off their latest purchases or announcing their dreams to the world. But is this really strength? No. It is noise. It is ego. And ego is an enemy to true peace. There is a powerful story of a monk who lived humbly in a small village. He had nothing but his simple robes and a bowl for food. One day, a traveler passed through the village and saw the monk. He asked, "Why do you live in such poverty? Why do you not seek riches and fame like others?" The monk smiled and replied, "I have everything I need, for I have peace within. A rich man may have all the gold in the world, but he will never have peace." The traveler, moved by the monk's words, asked, "How can I find this peace?" The monk's response was simple: stop speaking of what you do not have. Embrace silence, and you will realize that you have everything you need. The power of silence against greed. Greed is not only about material wealth, it can manifest in the desire for power, recognition, or approval. When you feel the temptation to announce your next big goal, to boast about what you have, or to seek validation from others, remember this: silence is the antidote. When you remain silent, you demonstrate control over your desires. You show that you do not need the world's approval to feel successful. In the face of greed, silence is a choice to reject the constant need for more. By not speaking of your desires or acquisitions, you free yourself from the chains of ego. How to overcome greed with silence. Resist the urge to show off. When tempted to speak of your possessions or desires, hold back. Let your actions speak for themselves, not your words. Focus on contentment. Understand that what you have right now is enough. Gratitude is the key to peace, and peace cannot be bought. Let others speak of you. Instead of announcing your achievements, let others recognize them. Their words will carry more weight than your own. Remember, what you own does not define you. Your possessions do not make you powerful. The true measure of strength lies in your ability to remain humble, to remain silent, even when tempted by greed. Embrace inner peace. Silence isn't just about avoiding words, it's about cultivating inner peace. When you stop speaking of what you do not have, you will realize you are already complete. Conclusion: the silent strength of humility. In the face of greed, silence is the ultimate act of self-control. It reveals that true wealth is not in possessions, but in the peace of a mind that needs nothing. When you are tempted to speak of what you lack or boast of what you have, remember that silence speaks louder than words. Chapter 5. When faced with criticism, stay silent. The world is full of critics. Everyone has an opinion about what you should or should not do, how you should live your life, and where you should go. Criticism comes from all directions, from friends, family, co-workers, even strangers. In these moments, it is tempting to defend yourself, to argue back, to justify your choices. But the wise know that the best response to criticism is often no response at all. Criticism is the voice of the insecure. Criticism is a natural part of life. It is a reflection of the critic's insecurities, their perception of the world, and often their own failures. When someone criticizes you, it is not about you, it is about them. They are projecting their own fears, doubts, and frustrations onto you. Marcus Aurelius, in his writings, advised, when someone criticizes you, remember that they are not attacking you, but their own perspective of you. Let them be. Do not react, for their opinion is not your truth. When you engage with criticism, you give it power. You allow the critic's perception of you to shape your own thoughts. But when you remain silent, you deny them the power to affect you. Silence dismantles the power of criticism. There is a powerful story of a teacher who was constantly criticized by his students. They mocked his teaching style, questioned his methods, and ridiculed his approach. Instead of engaging with their criticisms, the teacher remained silent. He continued his work with unwavering focus and commitment. Years later, one of the former students returned to the teacher and said, "I mocked you, I ridiculed you, and yet you never once responded. Why?" The teacher smiled and replied, "Because I did not need to prove myself to you. My silence was not weakness, it was strength. Your criticism reflected your ignorance, not my worth." The Stoic response to criticism. The Stoics understood that we cannot control the opinions of others. We cannot prevent people from criticizing us. But we can control how we respond. By remaining silent in the face of criticism, we maintain our composure, our peace, and our power. A modern example of this would be any leader who faces public scrutiny, whether in business, politics, or the arts. The truly wise leaders do not retaliate or argue. They let the critic speak, and in doing so, they show the world that their actions speak louder than words. How to handle criticism with silence. Don't take it personally. Criticism is often a reflection of the critic's own insecurities. It says more about them than it does about you. Pause before responding. The next time someone criticizes you, pause. Let the words settle before you respond. The first reaction is often an emotional one. The second is always wiser. Remember your worth. Your value is not determined by others' opinions. Stay silent and let your actions define you. Silence strengthens your resolve. Every time you resist the urge to defend yourself, you grow stronger. Silence is not submission. It is an active choice to remain calm in the face of adversity. Focus on what you control. You cannot control others' criticism, but you can control your reaction. Choose silence. Choose peace. Conclusion: silence in the face of criticism. Criticism is an inevitable part of life, but it does not define you. The next time you are criticized, remember that silence is the most powerful response. It removes the power from the critic and restores your peace. Chapter 6. When engulfed by chaos, stay silent. In a world full of noise, distraction, and chaos, it is easy to get swept away. The endless demands of life, work, relationships, responsibilities, can overwhelm you, pulling you in every direction. But in these moments of chaos, the wise do not react. They do not speak. They embrace silence, and in doing so, they find clarity. Silence in the storm. Imagine being caught in the middle of a violent storm. The winds howl, the rain beats against your skin, and the world around you is a blur of chaos. It is easy to panic, to run, to scream for help. But the calmest sailors know that when the storm hits, the best response is stillness. They anchor themselves, they steady their hands, and they wait for the storm to pass. This is the power of silence. In moments of chaos, when the world is falling apart around you, silence gives you the strength to stay calm, to stay focused, and to find your way through the storm. The Stoic mindset in chaos. The Stoics taught that we cannot control external events, only our response to them. In times of chaos, the Stoic response is not to react with fear, but to remain calm and centered. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, wrote, "A calm mind is the greatest weapon in the face of chaos." When everything seems to be falling apart, it is the calm, silent mind that can see clearly and find a way forward. How to find peace amid chaos. Step back and breathe. In moments of chaos, take a step back. Breathe deeply. Allow yourself to regain control over your thoughts and emotions. Focus on what you can control. Chaos often arises from trying to control everything. Focus only on what is within your power, and let go of the rest. Embrace the silence within. In the middle of the storm, find the quiet space within yourself. This is where true clarity resides. Respond with calmness. Do not react in haste. Take your time, think clearly, and respond with purpose. Remember, chaos is temporary. Like every storm, chaos will eventually pass. Silence allows you to weather it with grace and strength. Conclusion: finding clarity through silence. When engulfed by chaos, remember that silence is your anchor. It allows you to remain calm, focused, and clear-headed. In the storm of life, the stillness within is your greatest ally. Chapter 7. When faced with failure, stay silent. Failure is a part of life. No matter how skilled or prepared we are, we will inevitably stumble at some point. The world will see our missteps, and some may even mock us for them. In these moments, it is tempting to explain ourselves, to justify our actions, or to blame others. But true wisdom lies in remaining silent when faced with failure. Failure is not the end, but a teacher. Failure is often seen as something to be ashamed of, something to hide or avoid. But in reality, failure is a powerful teacher. It shows us where we went wrong, what we need to improve, and where our true strengths lie. Yet when we fail, we often have the urge to speak up, to explain, to make excuses. Why? Because we fear judgment. We fear being seen as weak or incapable. But the Stoics, in their infinite wisdom, understood that failure is not a reflection of our worth. It is simply a part of the process of growth. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you fail, it is not the failure that defines you, it is your response to it. Silence is the space for reflection. Instead of rushing to explain yourself or to speak about your failure, choose silence. In the stillness, you can reflect on what went wrong, learn from it, and prepare for your next step. It is in the silence that you find the wisdom to grow. Take the example of Thomas Edison, the famous inventor. It is often said that he failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Yet, when asked about his failures, he simply said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison didn't need to explain his failures to others. His silence was a reflection of his inner confidence. He understood that failure was simply a step toward success. The importance of silence in the face of failure. Silence after failure is not an admission of defeat, it is an affirmation of your strength. It is a recognition that the journey is not over, that you have the ability to learn and improve. When you are faced with failure, instead of speaking to explain, retreat into silence. Use the time to reflect, to learn, and to plan your next move. By doing so, you strengthen your resilience and prepare for future success. In a world that demands constant validation, silence in the face of failure is a powerful statement. It says, "I do not need your judgment or your approval to keep going. I will rise again." How to handle failure with silence. Accept responsibility. When you fail, accept it without excuses. But do not feel the need to explain yourself to others. Let your actions moving forward speak louder than your words. Reflect, don't react. Instead of reacting emotionally to failure, take time to reflect. What can you learn from this? What will you do differently next time? Stay calm in the face of judgment. Others may judge you, but remember that their judgment does not define you. Silence is your shield against the opinions of others. Trust the process. Know that failure is a natural part of the journey. With each failure, you are one step closer to success. Let your actions speak. Instead of explaining or justifying your failure, let your actions in the future prove your growth. Conclusion: the power of silence in failure. Failure does not define you. Your response to failure defines you. When faced with failure, remain silent. Reflect, learn, and grow. In the silence, you will find the clarity to rise again, stronger and wiser than before. Final thoughts. Embrace silence as a tool for strength. The lessons from the Stoics teach us that silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of strength, wisdom, and clarity. In the chaos of life, when tempted by greed, criticized by others, or faced with failure, silence becomes a powerful tool. It allows us to reflect, regain control, and choose our responses with wisdom. As you move forward in life, remember this: the strongest people are not those who speak the loudest, but those who speak the least and act the most. Silence is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of self-discipline, inner peace, and strength. By embracing silence, you will discover a power that no words can describe, a power that comes from within. So when you face challenges, when you are tempted to speak out of turn, remember the Stoic wisdom that has stood the test of time. Embrace silence. It is the key to unlocking your true potential, to living a life of inner peace, and to mastering the art of self-control. If you found these teachings valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Vision in Motion for more wisdom like this. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an inspiring episode, and share this with someone who might benefit from the power of silence in their life. Together, we can grow stronger.